Alright, we've got one big box and three smaller packages. Sorry, two smaller packages. That very limp something. Limp, I don't know. Felt like I kind of just lost the will to continue cutting halfway through cutting, which is usually less than ideal. Now I'll come back around to this side of the camera and I was just thinking that something there felt like that box was getting very structurally unsound. Okay, I guess I'll just put that on the bottom and we'll figure that out later in the video. It feels like this is the side with the most air. Well, this thing is just not opening very cleanly. Okay. And then finally, we got something from Right Stuff, which I'm not 100%. Oh, come on. 100% certain that it is anime, but well, it's here, so I guess I get to find out. So, Infini-T Force. That is CGI, right? Not just some weird camera effect. Huh? Region A, English and Japanese audio. And usually those are pretty good indications that you're dealing with an anime. Alright, well, let's get this thing opened and take a peek. Well, that's it. Next we got Shrine of the Morning Mist Blu-ray. I was just thinking, I don't know if I'll be able to run my fingernail in that. The plastic feels weird. That makes sense. This is probably, yeah, Anime Works. I guess Media Blasters has retired the Anime Works name. Because, right, you know, it says Media Blasters down there and Media Blasters there, which is interesting. So, Media Blasters has had at least two anime names, or anime distribution labels. One of those was Anime Works, and the other one was their hentai, which, you know, hentai is hentai, but it's technically anime. Hold on. What am I going to look for? Region A. I thought this was English. So, yeah, English and Japanese audio. Anyways, Kitty Media is their hentai branch. So this is why, you know, if you're looking at Kite or Mezzo Forte, if it's Anime Works, if it was released under the Anime Works label, then that means that it's the super edited versions which don't have the explicit sex scenes. Depending on the edits you get, you may or may not see nipples, but okay, here we go. I was gonna say, if there's a Boruto here, there's probably another one in there. What was I saying? Anyways, and if you saw the Kitty Media versions of Mezzo Forte or Kite, then you're dealing with the full, I'd say uncensored, except that Kite's just, you know, a fucking editing mess. We've got at least 4 different versions floating around. And that's assuming you don't, like, count the live action movie, which sounds like it didn't do too well, but I'm not surprised. Mostly because Kite and Mezzo Forte seem a little niche. They're interesting. Why is there also plastic on the inside? There's plastic on the inside. Oh well. Boruto, that series that, you know, I decided not to watch because after years and years and years of Naruto giving good content every once in a while, but mostly being a torture session. You know, it's, oh my god, that's a lot of plastic. So much plastic. Although, I was gonna say different covers on the inside than the slip covers. No. So just slip covers. So of course, this is Viz. Looks like we've got a region A there. I'm not sure what I'm looking at. Looking for discs 1 and 2. I mean, if there's one thing that's unfortunate about this, there's a kind of pleasantness to the character designs of Boruto and Naruto as well. Same disc art. Which makes me kind of curious about the characters, but I don't know. The priority has just been low. Next up, we've got Lupin the Third, the First. Which I'm guessing this is some sort of first heist. Oh, that's really weird because she looks like a Pixar character. Actually, she looks like the one from Incredibles 2. The lady that was the sister of the guy that wanted to bring supers back. Yeah, gotta get that glue removed. Taking a quick peek. And also, speaking of stuff like that, you know, especially from upside down like this, it's like, oh, I didn't know that Woody was in this. This is very Pixar-y. It might be a good thing. And I was just trying to decide if that guy looked like the guy who played chess with himself, but only from a distance blurred. That's an A there. Bonus features. Interviews, English cast reunited, animation, breakdown, CGI. Stuff. And as you can see, this is a steelbook, so we can, you know, take a look. We got the Blu-ray disc and we got the DVD disc. The world map-ish thing there, and here we got characters. And I can't flip through the second half. Oh look, it's Yuffie. Not really. Alright. I don't think that's going to fit in there. So I'll just put that to the side. Next up, we've got Bang Dream. Colors I can't fucking read because it looks like it says Film Live. Okay, yeah, so I can't read that smaller text there because that's Nihongo. I'm not sure if that's the right word now I think about it. Here's the first word that my gut decided to come up with. Oh, it's a movie, hence why there's one disc. Region A, audio, Japanese, subtitled only. Clean closing, promos, and trailers. Alright, next up we've got Pokemon, the series Sun and Moon Ultra Legends. With the middle evolution of, is this Torracat? Or was that, it's starting? Or it's starting. Incineroar is a fully evolved form. Okay, thought that there was a sneaky piece of... There is a sneaky piece of plastic. Great. Great, great, great. Not that I know. Middle evolution of... Well, geez, why can't I remember anything from the names of that line? That was the one I chose, that starter line. And this is the Melmetal thing from Pokemon Go, which makes me kind of want to give up on Pokemon just because can't catch them all, can't get them all, but whatever. Girls und Panzer, this is the real Anzio battle. No, Girls in Panzer has always been good. I think there's plenty of it that I haven't watched. But we got this, which is Region A, English dubbed. Special features include audio, clean closing animation, Sentai trailers. Yeah, pretty straightforward, but I don't know, I was expecting. Now we got Fruit Basket, Season 2, Part 1. This is a lot more high-tech. So this is probably the real interesting thing here. I don't remember if I watched Season 1, Part 2, which I think I did. Okay, that's why it feels like there's a bottom, it's because there is a bottom. There's this thing, which is on there, but it's used to include this, which, as you can see, it says this is Region A and B. High quality rigid box designed to fit your entire collection. Exclusive Snake and Horse Zodiac figures, 3 art cards. You know, all good stuff. I felt a little bit of give on this side, so let's see, can I... Yeah, there we go. So we can take this off, you know, which had, you know, duplications of the artwork on the side and the front. But there's the full back. With a shadow on it, of course, from camera. Okay, I think this is one of those magnetically sealed things. Then we've got this. Ooh. So these would be our special features, which I say special features, and what I actually meant would be all of our extra majibajerbs, which I'm not going to put back in because I think I'm supposed to put Season 1 in there, which means I probably need to figure out what the fuck I did with Season 1. And then this would be more stones. Zodiac stones. Because every single one of these comes with more of them. And eventually, maybe I'll have a complete collection, and I should probably get the complete collection out of the stones. So let's get here. You know, we got the stuff I mentioned before, special features, 2 Funimation Con panel, textless opening and ending songs, continue the collection of Season 2, adapted from manga like never before, Season 2, Part 1. These are all very familiar seeming people. Like, I did watch at least Season 1 Part 1, but I thought I watched Season 1 Part 2 as well. I can't remember. Oh well. So let's see. Alright. So as long as we've got that, I think normally you maybe hang it maybe not, it won't be that, but once there's more stuff in there weighing it down, it'll be good. Anyways, here's this week's anime DVD collection update. Okay, let's see. Anime watched. So I decided to watch a couple episodes of Kabukicho, case file number 221 Kabukicho. And, yeah, it's okay. Watchable. There are things about it that didn't work for me, but for the most part, I kind of found that, you know, so it's, obviously a detective-y sort of thing, and the characters' names are, you know, famous things. So, like, our green-cloaked person in the front is Sherlock, with Watson being the guy to his side, and Moriarty being the young kid. So there's, you know, common names like that. You know, they were talking about trying to catch Jack the Ripper. I don't remember if Sherlock Holmes was ever trying to catch Jack the Ripper, but maybe. But, you know, the point is, you know, these characters are being given these names, and so you're coming with certain expectations about them, and understanding that, oh, well, probably a murder's going to happen or something, and they have to figure out who done it, or stuff like that. And the cases are pretty simple, but I found that for the most part, they're enjoyable in their simplicity. Like, they're not too overly complicated that you can't be impressed by little, impressive things that they do, like determining that the guy in the first case, well, they didn't call it that, but he must have had a cocaine finger. Although, now that I think about it, I think that's... See, I've only heard of it, but I think it's usually a pinky or something, and my understanding was that, you know, I guess people did that to kind of either... Okay, I have no clue why they did that, but I did know that, you know, that's supposedly a thing, and this person had one long fingernail compared to the others, as an example. And me calling it a cocaine finger is probably not completely out of character, because this is kind of presented as being in a very slummy part of town. Or, should I say, a slummy half of town, not even like a part of it. It's like, you know, a lot of stuff sort of like that. And they never say it, but, you know, you kind of guess that there's probably a shit ton of illicit drugs going on, and then maybe little details like that added. But, you know, put that aside. So, you know, cases are pretty simple, digestible. Little clever things happen here and there. They're kind of nice. I think for me, well, I feel like some of it's strengthened in terms of giving his characters these names, so you kind of expect, oh yeah, he's Sherlock, so he comes up with smart observations, and he's Watson, so he is kind of there to, well, I guess if you expect him to be a rubber duck or foil or something for Sherlock to bounce ideas off of, I'm not sure how much it feels like that. It doesn't feel not like that, but it kind of means that, you know, you kind of expect some eccentricities, but they want to make all their characters a little eccentric, I guess, and so Sherlock has some weird things that he does, and it just kind of like, nah, he just does it, and it kind of missed me a little bit about the character, just because it seems like he acts kind of like an entitled, spoiled brat just because he's smart, and that doesn't make me feel completely endeared to his character. And Watson's is a weird focus where it's like his story seems to be something closer to the main overarching story. He went out looking for Sherlock in this slummy part. He comes from the non-slummy side of town, but it's hard to really make of what his story is, because, you know, I watched like 3 episodes, so they had given more details. It's not necessarily bad, but it's just kind of there, and the fact that they made it means that I'm kind of curious about it, but it feels like, I don't know, like the low-hanging fruit there feels, it doesn't feel like the story's moving in that direction, even though it's kind of giving the implication that Sherlock has been working on training Watson up to, I guess, be an assistant or something like that. Which is interesting, but also it's just kind of this... I don't know. For me, it kind of felt like a distraction. The desire to be eccentric, you know. They're working from a bar that, I think all the people are cross-dressing guys, but... yeah, I'm trying to remember all the characters, and I'm pretty sure that's the case, but I'm not 100% sure if I'm remembering everybody. And it's interesting, but it just kind of feels like it's a little at odds with it, because when you name a character Sherlock, you really want to see what is Sherlock doing, and then the focus seems to be a little bit more on Watson is having to do amusing chores, but they're competing with each other as detectives, and it's not like the kind of thing that's a bad conflict. It's just one of those things where I can kind of see it there. I could say that does feel like a weakness of the show, but yeah, overall, you know, I could probably watch more, but I guess the reason like this is the only anime I watched, other than you know, I rewatched the first 6 episodes of Reincarnated as a Slime with my friend, because, you know, we're just putting stuff on, usually isekai, because, you know, they're pretty straightforward. Yeah, you kind of understand where they're coming from. The tropes are usually a little easier to follow and stuff, and Reincarnated as a Slime, of course, is good. It's interesting because I've called it village building, but I don't know what a lot of tropes would actually call it. See, like, in stories you have this idea of world building, and what that normally means is that the show is doing something that is allowing us, the audience, to see how much bigger their world is, figure out more details about their world. So this would be like in Slayers, when you kind of find out that the contents of the series take place in a series of continents that are kind of magically sealed away from the rest of the world, if I remember correctly, by who did that? I don't know. And it's usually not that big of a detail, other than the fact that I think at the end of the 2nd season, their actions allow them to kind of start exploring the world outside of that boundary in the 3rd season, if I'm remembering correctly. Likewise, you know, Slayers would have things like the Clare Bible manuscript, which could almost be thought of as this well of infinite knowledge, which basically means that everything you want to know is there, but actual representations in the real world are going to naturally be different, incomplete, completely different concepts in terms of how they're expressed and things like that. And, you know, I feel like things like that can be world building. Simpler things can be world building, such as, you know, kind of finding out, oh, yeah, so this character actually came from a nearby village, and that village kind of specialized in such and maybe such and such becomes important, or maybe you just kind of learn more about the world because such and such exists. And that's world building, where it's not really building anything other than the audience's understanding of the world, but there's definitely shows that are about the things in the world being built up, which does have some world building consequences, but it's more like, oh, yeah, so we're building a village, and we're going to need this, and we're going to need this. And you could think of it, you might think that something like Dr. Stone would be like that, and there's some parts of it that kind of are, but Dr. Stone quickly changes gear to, okay, well, here's our main character dealing with people who already have an established village, and now it's more about, it's hyper-focused. Dr. Stone hyper-focuses on that low-tech building. How do you build up civilization from the dirt up, literally? And village building, as I'm trying to talk about, is more like, maybe it does some world building along the way, but the entire idea is you're trying to build a community. And I call it village building, but I don't know what it's officially called. But Reincarnated as a Slime is kind of a neat show because it's generally about that. And I think that's why it can get away with having such an overpowered character, despite
not really doing anything with that character that would be called deliberately interesting from a storytelling point of view. Instead, it's, you know, again, the village building is what's neat about it. So, like, with Overlord, your main character is overpowered, but that one is kind of about, a little bit about how he's losing control of some of himself just because he's kind of found now he, for all intents and purposes, is a lich, and so he is finding, like, so a lot of his normal human emotional reactions are being suppressed somehow. But that's less important than the entire world kind of reacting to this influx of morally questionable supermen into their world. And that's really what makes Overlord interesting. And that's, you know, dealing with the Superman concept pretty directly in a very entertaining way. Whereas reincarnated as a slime, you know, he's strong, he's powerful. And a lot of what he does is more important to the people watching than to us, the audience per se. And then that's why we have value, because we kind of see these people kind of, you know, experiencing this neat and interesting stuff. But I think what makes the series enjoyable is you just kind of see this uplifting building of stuff where it's like yesterday's enemies are tomorrow's allies sort of thing. And it's not even really, I was going to say it's not campy, but, you know, technically there's some campiness where it's just like, oh, well, now they're all following him and now they're all standing side by side because I guess they're, for lack of better words, dumb monsters, but, you know, they are considered smart insofar as, you know, they can speak and think and plan and stuff, and but they're very blank slates for the main character to kind of start doing interesting things with the world. And I guess it's also some of the weakness of Reincarnated as a Slime, where it's just sort of like a lot of people take on the, oh, these monsters are being nice now mantle too easily, which kind of suggests they were not completely monstery, which I don't know. I think I'm beginning to trail off because the entire point of mentioning that, you know, enjoying it, 6 episodes in, and, you know, still as good as before, you know. I guess, yeah, the point was, you know, I'm not watching more Kabukicho simply because that disconnect made it where I was mostly questioning if I wanted to focus my attention on that or somewhere else. I wasn't even quite sure what was coming out today, and seeing what was coming out today, I guess Fruits Basket is probably the priority watch. Maybe the only watch? I don't know. I never finished Shrine of the Morning Mist. But, I spent most of my weekend actually focused on building my VR chat world, which I've mentioned here before because I guess so one of the difficult things is, you know, I did choose a more complicated idea for my first world, and you shouldn't probably think of it as being anything grandiose, but it does mean that, you know, I kind of want the world to already have built in the various holidays and season changes that you might see in other worlds. Especially worlds kind of along the same line but simpler. So, like, people will upload a Christmas version of their world or a I'm trying to think of other, probably Halloween version is pretty common as well. And instead of having multiple different versions of my world, I want there to be the one world, but it automatically configures itself based on holidays. And at the same time, gives the host of the world an ability to switch them if they really want to. You know, that's just a really neat idea where, yeah. So, So basically, it means that I need to come up with a lot of assets in advance. So since I am trying to have a lot of this holiday stuff not be too hard polygon-wise, it's like, okay, well, what if I want a Christmas tree? Well, I did find a Christmas tree on VRC Mods that has 290,000 polygons, and like, that tree alone would be, about 14 times the polygons of what I've already put in there, minus the dolls doing stuff. But, you know, you subtract that and it's just like, that's not very practical. Do I edit that down or do I create something? And I took a look around and I eventually created my own very low poly 200 poly Christmas tree. Nothing that looks too impressive, but you know, for a low poly thing, it's actually not that bad. You know, it's a very simple idea, but it works, especially since it's not supposed to look like a real tree, which means when you're going with a fake tree, you can have something that looks like it was made out of construction paper, which this one kind of does, except there's a kind of flashing light thing going on with it, which is weird, different than you normally see on Christmas trees the way it's set up, but overall, it works, and, you know, it basically meant I had to construct that from scratch, construct the Christmas lights on the outside of the house, and I didn't go complicated with that. I ended up building my own pumpkins. You know, they're very low poly. They're obviously low poly stuff, but you can look at them and say, oh yeah, that's a pumpkin. So I'm needing to construct a lot of assets like that. And I spent a lot of time over the weekend not only creating those assets, but for some of them, it's like, okay, I added 6 books to the world. A book is just a 6-sided thing, which means it's just a 12 polygon thing. No complication there, right? Well, the problem is 4 of those books are going to be items that the user can pick up, which means I have to set it up in my special pickup system. Making an item pick-upable is not that hard, but integrating it into my system requires me to make sure I remember to tie everything together, because what happens is if somebody like picks up a book and wants theirs somewhere else in the house and then eventually drops it, well, I want the doll to eventually come around, pick up the book, and return it back to the place where it started. And I've created a system for doing that, and it just means that hooking up those books was a while, and I only said 4 of the 6 books did that. The other 2 books are actually part of a more complicated system that is actually, it's actually related to a block of wood thing that I added, where the idea is when the map is in the winter month, the fireplace is on. And if the fireplace is on, well, it seems like a really nice thing to have the dolls do every once in a while is go get some wood and throw it in the fireplace. So I made it where there's a piece of wood in there, but then eventually it uses the same return item to its original play system with a couple add-ons where that wood will say, alright, it's been 2.5 minutes, time for me to teleport to one of my hidden spots just outside the map. And so what'll happen is the doll goes to the edge of the map and then just flies through the fence, grabs it, and brings it back. And it's hidden inside trees so that, you know, it kind of looks like the doll's going out there and harvesting from a random tree or something weird like that. You know, it doesn't look like perfect, but it looks enough where it's just kind of interesting. And it's got, let's see, probably 16 different places that it could go. And so it's a system where it has to go there. And then I realized, oh, well, instead of making all these books something that can be picked up, I probably want a couple of them to make it look like dolls are just moving books around, keeping the books organized or something like that. Taking some, putting them into the attic, and taking some out of the attic and putting them onto the shelf, and moving between shelves. So, you know, it's basically, you know, just a lot of little details like that. And then, of course, like I said, I'm needing to create all these items. So, like, I always wanted a spade and a plant pot, so those are in there as items that can move. Doll dress was added. I added a plate, fork, a knife, and a spoon. You know, in theory, Alice doesn't have company, so having one of each of those is fine. I don't know if I can really do something. I mean, I probably could, but I'm probably not going to focus on making the dolls, like, wash them or something like that. Because there is a sink, but it's okay. I added 2 beer mugs, 2 Christmas presents, and I guess I also did this thing where the world has music that it plays, and it's set up in a way that might be a little repetitive and might not work as well as I might hope. Some songs it'll work perfectly fine, others might grate on people. I guess I'll have to see. But the idea is, you know, the songs are always synchronized, and it occurred to me that it would be kind of nice to kind of have an indicator so you know what the song's from or what the song is. So that could either be a name that appears somewhere or something like that. And I ended up going with a poster and a frame that changes depending on what the song is. And it doesn't change to something that's unique per song. It's just each song says display this thing. So that means that, you know, like I have 2 Octopath Traveler songs in there, and if either of them play, then it shows the Octopath Traveler poster. So I've got a system in place for that. And that, geez, I did a lot of stuff over this past week. A lot of little technical things, building a whole lot of stuff from scratch. And I'm not finding very good hits for cooked turkey for Thanksgiving, so I'm gonna probably make my own. And then make mashed potatoes. Maybe a croissant. And then I guess for Halloween, I need some ghosts. And even though I had the 2 beer mugs for St. Patrick's Day, I think I'm gonna also put a green hat somewhere. See, lots of ideas. And I haven't even started working on the fireworks yet for Independence Day and probably also New Year's. I'm not quite sure how those holidays are going to differ too much, other than Independence Day will probably also have a hamburger instead of mashed potatoes. I was just trying to think if potato chips or French fries would make sense there. But I'm not going to worry about that too much. So, yeah. If you're not seeing a whole lot of anime watching, I'm looking for excuses to continue working on my first VR chat world, because as you can probably tell, you're like, Jesus, that's complicated. Why don't you just do something simple first? It would be a fair question. And the problem is, now that I've started this, it's too late. I want to finish it if I can. Speaking of finishing it if I can, that's me babbling on for, what, 20-30 minutes now? And, you know, the phone's going crazy off the hook, so that probably means I should end it here. Y'all, have a nice week.